from Country Diggers. Welcome to the Speakeasy. And today we're going to do a story from the Bloody Century 2, More Tales of Murder in 19th Century America by Robert Wilhelm. He also does the murderbygaslight.com website. And today we will be talking about A Woman Scorned. So stay tuned. A Woman Scorned. William Goodrich paid a visit to the lodgings of his brother Charles on DeGraw Street in Brooklyn on March 21st, 1873. With no response at the door, he entered the house to search for his brother and found him lying dead on the basement floor, neatly posed as if laid out by an undertaker. Charles had been shot in the head, and lying on the floor near his hand lay a revolver, suggesting suicide. But William Goodrich knew his brother too well to believe this. "You never did this yourself," he said. "This is murder, not suicide." The date, March 21st, 1873. Location, Brooklyn, New York. Victim, Charles Goodrich. Cause of death, gunshots. Accused, Lizzie Lloyd King, alias Kate Stoddard. The Brooklyn police agreed with his brother when they saw the body of Charles Goodrich. Suicide was impossible. He had been shot 3 times in the head. After his death, someone washed the blood from his face and combed his hair. Whoever cleaned him up put a clean shirt on the body and posed it. They made a pillow from a piece of damp cloth over a pair of boots and placed it under his head. 3 wet towels were hanging in the basement, one stained with blood. Goodrich's watch was gone, and all of his cash was missing, giving the impression that he was murdered by burglars. But because of the way the body had been cleaned and arranged, the police believed the killer was a woman. There were other reasons to suspect a woman. Charles Goodrich, who was 41 years old at the time of his death, was a widower living in a Manhattan boarding house. He and his brother William owned a block of houses on DeGraw Street that were under construction. In the spring of 1872, Charles rigged up a room in one of the houses so he could sleep when there to supervise the building. His absences from the boarding house became increasingly frequent, and he was not there. And when he was not there, his DeGraw Street neighbors would see him sitting on the stoop of his building with an attractive young woman. By autumn, she was no longer seen in public, but neighbors often saw her leaving the house early in the morning. A second woman who had been seen at Goodrich's house that winter, and she was soon identified as Miss Adeline Paber, Charles Goodrich's fiancée. A letter found in the house explained the motive of the murder, and maybe the still unidentified first woman, the prime suspect. The letter addressed to Goodrich's father said that the writer believed herself to be married to Charles and had even had a child with him. He had recently told her that the marriage was a fraud, and he was throwing her out to marry another. The letter was signed Amy G. The Goodrich family offered a reward for the capture of the mystery woman. The police learned that she was known as Kate Stoddard and worked as a straw hat maker. Her real name was Lizzie King, and she was from Plymouth, Massachusetts. Before coming to New York, she had been an inmate at an insane asylum in Taunton, Massachusetts. from which she had escaped. The police now had a description. She was a pale, good-looking woman, about 23 years of age, of medium height, and graceful figure. But beyond that, they had no leads. Kate Stoddard could be anywhere. The Brooklyn chief of police in 1873 was Patrick Campbell, who had not come up through the ranks of the Brooklyn Police Department. He began work in the printing office of the Brooklyn Eagle newspaper, and after rising to the position of supervisor, he turned to politics. Chief of police was the latest in an adventurous series of political appointments. His lack of police experience proved to be an advantage, allowing him the freedom to try creative solutions, not always endorsed by those under his command. A woman named Mary Hanley volunteered information that she had once been a roommate of Kate Stoddard's in Brooklyn. After a lengthy interview, Chief Campbell hired Mary as a detective in the Goodrich case, reporting directly to him. He sent her to follow leads as they arrived from towns in upstate New York. The search for Kate continued for several months without success. During this time, several other suspects were considered, and other theories floated regarding the murder. Suspects included an Englishman named Barnett or Barrett, James, alias Pop Tig, and two other burglars, and a dark-visaged Spaniard named Roscoe. Lucette Myers, who was known to have been intimate with Goodrich, claimed that Roscoe killed Goodrich out of jealousy. The press took an interest in Roscoe as a suspect, but the police dismissed him as a figment of Lucette's imagination. In any case, the mysterious Roscoe was as exclusive as Kate Stoddard, elusive. By chance, as Mary was approaching the ferry from Brooklyn to New York on July 8, 1873, she recognized Kate coming from the boat. She called for a police officer to arrest the fugitive, and the woman was soon before Chief Campbell. She denied it all. She denied that her name was King or Stoddard, and that she had ever roomed with or even seen Mary Hadley before. But Mary was positive she was not mistaken, so Chief Campbell said to the suspect, "Madam, we don't want to hold you if you are not Kate Stoddard. Be kind enough to tell us where you reside, and I will at once dispatch an officer and ascertain if you are telling me the truth." "That I'm sure I won't do," said the woman. "Then," said the chief, "you will have to remain in custody, but first you must be searched." The woman wore a long gold locket on a chain around her neck, which she would not hand over. He took it from her and with some difficulty forced it open. Some dark-colored crumbs or lumps fell onto the floor. The woman quickly picked them up and put them into her mouth. Fearing that she might have taken poison, the chief grabbed her arm and asked her what it was. "That's blood, dried blood," she replied, but would say no more. She was held for several days but refused to talk. Then Campbell made another bold move. He had his men knock on every door in Brooklyn and inquire if any of the households had been missing a young woman since the previous Tuesday. Within 2 hours, they had 300 names. By the end of the day, they had narrowed the search and found the house they were looking for. A boarding house on High Street was missing a woman named Minnie Waltham, a hat maker. A latchkey found on the prisoner fit the lock on the missing girl's room. In that room, they found Charles Goodrich's watch and other personal items, along with a revolver with 3 empty chambers. His money was there, too. None had been spent. There was now no doubt that the woman in custody was Kate Stoddard. Inquest. July 12, 1873. Before the coroner's inquest, Kate Stoddard allegedly had confessed to the murder of Charles Goodrich. They had met through a personal advertisement that Goodrich had placed in the newspaper looking for a wife. Upon meeting, each was impressed by the other, and after a brief courtship, a marriage ceremony was held. They did not live together. Kate lived in a room on DeGraw Street until the spring of 1873. During that time, she became pregnant, and Goodrich pressured her to have an abortion. Goodrich had also been seeing Adeline Paver at the same time and decided that she was the one he wished to keep. He became engaged to Miss Paver and told Kate that their marriage was a sham. A friend of his performed the ceremony. Goodrich and Kate argued, and she begged him to take her back, but he was unyielding. The next day, she found that all her belongings had been moved to an unfinished room in one of his buildings on DeGraw Street. She went to see him, and during an argument, she drew a pistol and shot him. Kate left, but returned later to clean and dress the body. She had saved some of the dry blood from the body inside the locket. Chief Campbell had opened. During the frantic police search, Kate had never left Brooklyn and had even attended Goodrich's funeral. At the request, Lucette Myers identified the articles in Kate's trunk. She said she knew the defendant under several names: Kate Stoddard, Amy Snow, Amy Stone, and Amy Gilmore. Myers still accused Roscoe of the murder, but said she had seen him in conversation with Kate. Kate took the stand, but on the advice of counsel refused to repeat the confession she had given to police, saying she would save any statement for her trial. The coroner called on Chief Campbell to relate to the jury the confession that Miss Stoddard had given to the police. The coroner's jury deliberated briefly before returning with a verdict. We find that the said Charles Goodrich came to his death by pistol shot wounds in the head, inflicted by Lizzie Lloyd King, alias Kate Stoddard, with intent to cause death on the evening of the 20th or morning of the 21st of March, 1873, at his foresaid house in DeGraw Street, Brooklyn. Aftermath: Before Kate could be tried for murder, a hearing was held to determine her mental competency. The hearing included testimony from doctors who had cared for her at Taunton Lunatic Hospital, stating that at times she had been put into a camisole, which was called a straitjacket, a camisole straitjacket, on account of violence or destructiveness. The judge committed her to the state insane asylum at Auburn, New York. After his pronouncement, Kate asked the judge if she had been convicted of murder. The judge had not answered. The judge have not answered. That's what it says. You have been decided here guilty of homicide. What I have decided is that you are not in a mental condition to be tried, the judge said. To which Kate responded, "Oh, if I am willing to take that risk, I think the rest ought to be. But that risk was not taken, and Lizzie King, alias Kate Stoddard, was never tried for murder. She spent the rest of her life in the Auburn asylum. Even before arrest, the citizens living on DeGraw Street successfully petitioned to rename the section of DeGraw Street between 5th and 6th Avenues to Lincoln Place, to distance the street from the negative association of the murder. All right, well, that's a woman scorned for you. All right, hope you enjoyed. See you back soon.